Yes, sir.
Hey girl, hey. How are you today?
You know, I'm doing all right,
Oh, good.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, be
I don't
specific.
always
Uh-oh,
know.
the shit's still blinking. I apologize. One, two, three, press.
Well, that's not how that works. Hold on. The fuck? Yo, it's gonna be so complicated to know what the fuck these files are. We're gonna have to listen.
Oh no, it's the bane of my existence,
I
actually.
hate that
It
because I
really makes
always
my head
order them
hurt.
wrong.
Oh, God.
Well, we got to.
Here we
We didn't
go.
stop and start quite a few times, and then toys first, and then this. What episode are we doing right now? The first one, or should we? I think we should just go to the second one. Do our pleasantries.
Oh, that's what I was doing.
That wasn't where I was, so very
Oh, well,
good.
that was
Ready?
good.
One, two, three, press. One,
Two,
three,
four,
five,
6,
seven,
8,
nine.
10.
Yes, sir.
Hey girl, hey. Welcome
Hi.
to Around the Way Curls.
I'm sorry. This gentleman who lives above me, all I hear all the time is just constant banging. He's got to be a tap dancer. He's like, tap, tap. He's doing like paradiddles upstairs or
Not a
something.
paradiddle. Did you
I
make it
think
up or is that a legit dance move?
it's a dance move. I think I'm gonna go up. I think I'm gonna be that neighbor. Are you ready? Ah, the white. I think I'm going to slip a very nice note. I'm gonna say, "Hey, neighbor. Hey." Um, not trying to be an asshole or anything. It's just, the last couple of weeks ever since you moved in, around till like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're like building furniture or something. I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but please stop. Signed, the girl that lives beneath you.
You gonna
I
say
don't
please stop?
No, I'll figure out the language. Got to come up with some copy. But it's driving me crazy. Like I'm laying in bed and it'll be like, "Doom." Like are you I can't tell what he's
Well,
doing.
you should knock
And
on
then
the door and allow it to be like a movie where he opens the door and he's like sweaty and
he's very
handsome.
gay, so
Oh, you met him
he's
before?
yeah, I met him the day he was moving in. And his that was who I talked about. That his dad was like being like, "Yo, this is your neighbor. She's saying hi." And I was like, "Why doesn't this dad know his son is very gay?" His dad was like trying to set it up. Like he said, maybe she'll need some sugar. That's something corny he said. I was like, "Sir,
He
you
was
don't
like,
know who your
yuck, Dad,
son
that's
is."
disgusting.
Yeah, I was like, "What are you just oblivious?" But anyway, yeah, he might have some sort of module system, where like I hear a lot of rolling, like wheels. So I'm like, is
What do you mean module system? You're
I
using
feel like
words I
maybe
don't
he has some
understand.
kind of furniture that is like transforms into like bedding. It goes from like desk to bed or something. I'm telling you, it's like clockwork. It's like when he's ready to get in the bed, he's putting weights down or something. He must have just worked out. And then he's shifting all of the furniture in his room for bedtime. That's what it sounds like. I don't know. Like
Wow.
it's very
He needs to
interesting.
stop.
He needs to stop. That's what I'm gonna say. You need to stop.
Is
The
that how you're
Sixers are
doing?
getting their ass kicked right
Is
now.
that your
I don't even want
update
to think
or?
about it. No, that's not my update, child. Do
Oh,
you have an update? Because you don't have nothing on this. You literally have nothing on the outline. Do you want me to go or
this is awkward. This is.
do you want me to come on? Because this
I'm
is such
doing
a great
fine. I'm
episode.
very excited. Jolie has her coming performances. She's in a plays and musicals. She also is old enough to leave home alone at night. So,
Wait, what? No, she's
yeah.
not.
I mean, not overnight, but like I can step out for 2 hours and then come back.
Oh, she's not leaving home at night. You're leaving
No,
home at
absolutely
night.
not. I'm leaving her at home, and I'm really excited. And this happened recently. I went to a friend's birthday party yesterday, and I was like, not me out on a school night after 10, 12 years.
Oh,
That's a big milestone. And everybody was like, high five. And it was it's a celebration. So I'm really excited
What
about
does she
it.
do when you're gone? Does she
Who knows?
color?
You give it, kiss it up to God. You just pray. You say, don't do no weird shit. Who knows? Jolie's probably, I mean, her thing is like baking cookies. She like does really strange cooking experiments, which enrage me because she wastes the ingredients and makes a mess and then wastes the concoction. But it's for her creativity, I guess. So I'm just feeling really good about this new stage in motherhood and watching her become her own little person. She gets herself up now, gets herself dressed. Like she wakes me up in the morning this past week. I don't know if I'm actually degenerating in my parenting skills, really. That's what it sounds like, leaving her late at night and having her wake me up in the morning. I don't know, but I love it. I kind of love it. I'm here for it. So,
Well, congratulations, Queen.
thank you. Thank you so much. Are you
I'm,
coloring or?
can you hear that? I'm drafting my note to my
Oh my God.
neighbor.
Not me telling you, and your mind was not even paying attention.
I was.
I'm
Oh
gonna do
my
that to you
God, I
right
could
now.
do two things at
No, you
once.
can't. It's not how your
First
brain
of all, I
actually works.
can. I do it
No,
all day long. I'm
no,
never present.
you're not.
I'm always doing something else. You fucking kidding me?
Wow.
Do you know who I am? Um, anyway, I am in a, oh my God, I'm in a group chat with over like 15 people that I only ever met once and they won't stop. And I don't know how to get out.
What?
I don't have any of these numbers saved. So it's just a bunch of random
Oh,
numbers.
that's like hell.
It's hell. And if I leave the chat, there's a notification saying Antoinette has left the chat. So then I come off as a bitch. And I don't know what to do.
Girl, radical honesty. Say, sorry guys, but
And I've muted the chat, but then when I open my phone and see that
who
there's
are these people? Put their names on blast right now.
Shanti,
Make
I
it real hard.
don't know. I
You
know
don't know?
one of the lovely humans invited me to a Met Gala viewing. I didn't even know this was a thing, but these fancy people, or they got a hotel, a very nice hotel in Brooklyn, and they had a whole suite to view the Met Gala. We've talked
Is it?
about
I
this
didn't
because
even know it
remember
was a
this is
fucking.
Thursday's
Is it a
episode.
performance or you just
So
watch
we
people
talked
show
about
up?
it on Monday. So now I'm in this group chat with all the people that she invited, and give her credit, God bless her. She said, "Hey everybody, this is the suite number. This is the hotel. This is the time. Feel free to respond to me privately." No one listened. And they won't, and they're not even just talking about the night. They're sending outfits. They're like fashion people. And I'm not a fashion
They don't
person.
know who you are either, Internet. Get out of there. Tell them why you
No,
can.
no, you can't. It's just gonna be like 215 left the chat.
So they don't know
What?
who it is.
No, that's so rude. I can't.
All right, well,
But
this
it's
is.
hell. And I want it to die down. And I was like, again, trying to craft like a witty text to be like, this group chat is the group chat from hell. Ha ha ha.
Oh,
Like
that's witty and not.
it's
That's
not funny
funny.
at all.
Oh, it's get on my fucking nerves. Wish I could get out of it, but I can't because I don't want to hurt you people
Or
that I
like
don't know.
I even Googled memes for group chat and I was gonna like put the meme in the chat and say me in this group chat. Ha ha ha. But like I haven't
They're like,
found
who
the
the fuck
perfect
is
one
that?
yet. I don't know, girl, but it's hell.
That's-
I've muted it and then I go back to my phone and I have 50 unread messages. Horrible. And the number stresses me out seeing it at the top.
I think you should just drink the rest of that drink that you're drinking and then get the liquid courage to exit the building. I wish I knew how to exit a group chat. How do you exit group chat?
You would know because you
I
would
leave
leave
the
like
squad
our
group
friend
chat.
group. You would leave
So they
like
would never
it's only like
forgive me.
4 of us in there. If you did that, I would literally never invite you back, and I would never invite you to any of the outings. I would be so hurt and angry.
I know she would. I didn't realize how seriously you take them.
That is like a family group chat. You can't exit that. That's like what's keeping us together. That and the Instagram group chat.
I
But
feel
that one I
very
don't
close
even
to the
open.
Instagram. You
I don't
don't?
even open
Oh, I
that.
enjoy it so much.
Because it's nothing but memes and videos. It's nothing but TikToks and memes. No one says anything in it.
But
It's
we
just
say so
like,
much. So much is said.
I know. Did you see what Jasmine sent me?
Yes.
That shit had me dying. She said, y'all, she sent me this Jerry Springer thing. I don't know what clip this was, but then she sent it to me and was like, me to you with the kiss face. Like, I love you so much. And this black man was trying to big up this woman. He said, "Whatever, I don't care whatever this man has done to you, you still a strong black woman." And she was like, "What? I'm white." I said, "This monster, where did you even find this?" But anyway, in other news, I feel very adult. Shanti, I finally got a portable car charger. Finally did it. I'd like to know if you have your portable car charger back yet.
You're psychotic.
Okay. Because I've been thinking about
Ah,
that.
you're so annoying.
And I wanted to make sure that you had it back from said person. I have a portable car charger. It also has a flashlight. Does yours have a flashlight built
It
in?
does, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I haven't even used it yet. And I'm like, this is amazing. Do you have a thing where you can plug it into your little ash or lighter thing? I don't even think I have a lighter thing
No, ma'am, it
anymore.
ain't that high tech.
I have one of those, and I have a
Seems like it would blow up
input
my
plug.
dashboard.
Well, I have an input plug for even my phone in case of emergency.
Where you fuck you get this supercharger from?
Amazon's.
How much was it?
Like $89.
No, I'm upset, furious. Not a
Because yours
comparable
was more
buy with more
expensive.
features.
See,
Such a buyer's remorse. I'm
stick with me,
fuming.
kid.
Not
I
her
researched
having
the
a
hell
phone
out.
charger and it connect to the car charger, which makes
Yes.
no sense because if your car is fucking dead, why you want to charge your charger? But I get it. I'm back. I'm jealous.
Well,
I'm just trying to
no,
put it
it's
down.
if you needed to use it and it comes back on, then you can always obviously you have to charge the portable car charger in order for it to charge your car. So if your car is ever running and you use it to charge your phone or something, or somebody needs it and you just need to charge it up real fast, you can use that battery as well. Anyway, these are the things that all adults should have in their vehicles. All right? This is a PSA. Keep hitting the mic. Sorry, Monty. He's going to email us about that. You need to have a hammer. We've talked about this. My mother bought me a hammer and I lost it. But it was a specific car hammer. You can buy that also on the Amazons. Or try to find it from some black-owned place because I'm sick of supporting Jeff Bezos and them. But there's a specific car hammer where you can cut the seatbelt. They got a knife on the back of the thingamajig. And then also, if you ever drive into water, you wait for the whole car to fill up. You meditate. You stay present. You say to yourself, I'm going to be all right. You cut that seatbelt off, and then you bust them windows out. But the windows will not bust unless the car is full with water. So you gotta wait.
They also have a thing that breaks the glass for you. I want that joint. I don't want to be trying to bust a window while I'm having a fucking heart attack.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know that exists. I want that as well.
I want to get that.
You should also have, if your car portable charger does not have a flashlight, you should have a flashlight. So you need a flashlight in your vehicle, okay? You should have an umbrella in case you break down and it's raining. You should have glow sticks in case you break down and it's dumb cold and there's no lights on the road. Gotta put the glow sticks out, make sure people see you and don't run you over. Then, of course, you have to have a phone charger in there as well.
And a
but
blanket.
If you have the fancy thing that I have, that also is a phone charger. I also watched a video on how to change my spare tire, put a donut on, take a donut off. So I'm ready. I don't know what for, but I just feel ready and very adult.
Yeah. Good work by you.
Thank you. With that said, we're going to announce some time off. Shanti and I are going to be taking some time off. We're not breaking up. We just need a break because we're breaking internally. So, I can't remember the damn time off right now. It is the last 2 weeks of June. There will be no new episodes on Around the Way Curls. Sad, sad things. We'll be back in July to hold you over. And then the entire month of August, no new episodes of Around the Way Curls. We might do Patreon Town Hall in there just to hold our patrons down. Since y'all go the extra mile for us, we'll go the extra mile for you. But we need this time to recharge, to recenter ourselves, to maybe read a book or two, to be able to talk about more interesting topics, and to just, to really focus our energy on where we need to grow and how we're going to do said things. Okay? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, thank you for the announcements.
Okay.
We're going to go to a break. Oh, never mind. I apologize. Where am I? I don't know.
We are going to go to a break. Shanti apologizes. We don't have any voicemails this week because we have an incredible interview with Toi Marie, who is a powerhouse of a woman, mother, impact strategist. She's doing the hard work out here on liberating all of us, giving us some imagination, asking us to be revolutionary, and also just being a really cool, approachable, down-ass bitch. So shout out to her. And after these messages, we'll be right back.
Well,
that was a little bit of a struggle. They listening like, yeah, they do need a break. The fuck? Cadence is all off. All right. First episode. Let me get this down. Sixers look like this today. All right. I'm blinking. We have 6 recordings on here, and I had cleaned that out. Damn.
Delighted to be back, and we are delighted for this very special guest that we have with us. We have Miss Toi Marie Smith. We have been following you for a minute now on Instagram, and I'm always immediately sobered or consoled in some way when I see your posts, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed or inadequate. I'm like, it's not me, it's capitalism. It's not me. I'm just a single mom. But Toi is a growth and impact strategist. Her work centers on doing life, business, and motherhood differently. She works with people whose work is countercultural, liberatory, and revolutionary in nature, or people who desire and are committed to moving their work or lives in that direction. And we're very happy to have you to talk about all those things that you just mentioned. You're a brilliant mind and you're very generous with your ideas. So we're happy to have you share that with our community.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm a fan and I'm excited to talk all the shit about capitalism.
Let's go.
Yes.
How are you feeling today? Number one, how are you doing?
I'm feeling good. It's late in the day here. All my sons are home. Well, 3 of them are here. So, I'm chilling.
Good. And where's home?
Denver, Colorado. Well,
Denver?
really Aurora, but I say Denver because y'all will know Denver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we sadly know Aurora now based off of the unfortunate events. But yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's dive into it.
Okay.
All right. I was on your Instagram stalking you yesterday.
Okay.
And I was like, we have to anchor this conversation. I was on my type A personality-ish where I'm like, Shanti, it's got to be really focused. She's so smart, yada, yada, yada. And I found a post, Toi.
Yes.
I said,
okay.
"Ooh, this is it."
Mm-hmm.
And you posted, capitalism requires, all right? And there's 6 things that capitalism requires of us that I was hoping that you could deep dive into to help jumpstart this conversation. And in case you forgot, I also have the caption here on our outline.
Okay.
So
Well,
Let
first,
me
let
know.
me ask y'all because when I jump into these conversations around capitalism, what I find is like we have a distorted understanding of capitalism. So, can I ask y'all what y'all think capitalism is when you hear that word? Because a lot of times it's just like it's the economy. It's, we don't have a clear understanding. So, where do y'all fall in under thinking about capitalism?
I understand capitalism to be the exploitation of labor,
Mm,
and the exploitation of resources and land, um, and that kind of tendrils out and is deeply connected with politics and economics, and it spreads out into the globe with colonialism.
mhm,
But this idea of extraction, without honoring who it's extracting from, and
mhm,
more often than not, exploiting that, by any means necessary.
mhm.
And all of us kind of like, assuming that to be natural, and like that's how we move in the world in many extent, by, yeah, by just being a part of it, being in it. That's all we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's deeply ingrained in our everyday lives.
Mhm,
Shanti is the person who, after starting this podcast, really helped me see
mm,
how
mhm,
much of capitalism um, I embodied, how
mm.
much of it was controlling
Yeah.
my very way of being, from my relationships to with myself, to my
Mhm,
relationships with others, my value systems, my disdain for rest, my fear
mm.
of rest, and just me being on that hamster wheel
Yeah.
of trying to get quote unquote success.
Mhm,
Uh, but now I see it as we did an episode on capitalism is destroying our sex lives.
mm.
And it was just so interesting how even in that,
Yeah.
even in some of the most intimate and I would say like primal
Mhm.
parts of us,
Yeah.
it's so deeply ingrained in that.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it's this big bad wolf to
Yeah.
me. Like
Mm.
there's gotta be another way.
Yeah.
But it's the reality.
Yep.
And so I almost feel like a slave to it.
Mm.
Like what
Mhm.
I guess I get upset because I don't understand what my other options are.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, y'all both touched on some things that are really important when I talk about capitalism, which is exploitation and the naturalization of it, right? We just think it's natural, that it just happened, that it doesn't have a history.
Mhm.
And so that post that you all are referring to was me just thinking about when I talk about capitalism, I like to talk about it interpersonally, how it affects our everyday lives, because sometimes when we start to do it in the abstract, people can't connect and see that it really is deeply ingrained in us. It becomes almost like a personality trait,
Mhm.
becoming a capitalist and thinking about it in that way. And so when I use the term enclosure, enclosure is deeply connected to capitalism because without enclosure, there wouldn't be capitalism, meaning things had to be privatized in order for us to then depend on our work and our labor to then uphold capitalism. So that enclosure wasn't just in land, that was enclosure of our bodies, right? Like our bodies have to be enclosed, our minds, our imaginations, our knowledge, how we think about relationships. All these things have to be enclosed, meaning privatized or outside of the realm of imagination, so that we still participate in capitalism. So if we think, A, it's natural, we think there's nothing else that we can do
Hmm.
with it, we won't challenge it. That means our imagination is enclosed. So if we think that, then the exploitation continues on. And so that post was really me unpacking the levels that it takes for us to stay in the system.
Hmm. So then what are those 6 ways? Yeah.
There are a bunch of them. There's enclosure of the land,
Mhm.
right? So enclosure of the land is before capitalism, people lived freely, right? There wasn't private property. There was people lived on the land. You may have some people who like that's their home and you know not to go there, but it wasn't private property. But in order for capitalism to succeed, it had to steal the land, then privatize it. So meaning everyone gets private property. So now you have a suburb, everyone gets a home, and this is where we can criminalize, excuse me, poverty and unhoused folks because they don't have anywhere to be. So then you have to force everyone into the workforce. So enclosing of the land, enclosing of our bodies. We're talking about reproduction, specifically for Black women. What that looks like is when we enclose our bodies, this is why we see such a battle with women's bodies, is because women's bodies have become a site of capitalism. We birth new workers. We birth the workers that are then going to go out into the world. And mothers become a big part of capitalism because we teach our kids how to uphold the capitalist values. Right? This spans across race and class. And of course, there's different intersections, but this is part how capitalism encloses the body, enclosing the imagination. You said it. If it's natural and I can't think of a different way, my imagination can't be freed. And I always say, like, it's a battle of the imagination, especially for Black folks. If we can't think of a different way to be, we can't challenge something. If we say, this is it, this is all we got, there's no other way. And then we bring our kids up under it. And then we say, this is it. All you can do is go to school, get a job. And that's the only way to be a part of it. I have an 18-year-old. He just turned 18. And I remember when he got his first job and he was like, Mom, is this it? And I was like, I mean, because he was like, I got in trouble because there was nothing to do and I was just sitting there. And my manager said I should have found something to do so I would look busy. And he was like, but there was nothing to do. And this is how we think about cubicle culture and things like that. And so he was like, this is what I do now. Like after I'm done with high school or after college, I just go work. Right. So I'm like, no, we have to expand that. So that battle of the imagination. What else did I have on that list?
Oh, I'd be happy to. No, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. You have enclosure of land, enclosure of the body, closure of the mind, imagination, enclosure of knowledge. Capitalism requires the privatization and commodification of education and information. This results in a lack of access to knowledge for purposely marginalized groups and reinforces social inequality. I mean, just today, I was so frustrated. And we have it, thank God. But I wanted to read an article and it was, you had to pay for it. And I thought, what the fuck? Like, the information's not even free anymore. We talk about how it's all readily available to you, go get it. But because of capitalism, I'm not saying that, these businesses, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all of these publications don't need that money because of capitalism in order to, produce. But the system itself, it automatically ostracizes certain people who can't afford that subscription.
Yeah. And think about, like, a lot of college used to be free, right? Like when I'm talking about education and knowledge, like for way back, like when colleges first started, right? When we first had universities, a lot of them were really low cost.
Wow.
Affordable. Meaning you weren't going to go in debt to go to school. But because Black and brown folks started going more, then they figured that they had to do something about it. And that's when so much of this, the college tuition prices went up. And so we barricade that so it leaves out a lot of purposely marginalized folks from getting education. And I think about that in terms of, like, with my sons, redlining and things like that impact what school your kids can go to, right? And so usually, depending on how your state was redlined, I know for my area, like, we live in a lower income area. The schools are not the best. And if I want to put my kids in a different school, then I have to move and pay more, right? And so who can afford that? Who's going to do that? And so the education that's in my area is not the best. And so it already puts lower income students at a deficit because it's enclosed purposely, though, so that higher income areas, which are usually predominantly white, get a better education and then feed into these systems with already a head start.
Mm-hmm. You also have enclosure of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism prioritizes individualism and competition over community and cooperation. This was big to me. This results in social isolation, breakdowns in social support systems, and a lack of empathy. Also, through this enclosure, capitalism tries to dictate and define how we can relate to each other by legitimizing some relationships and
Mm-hmm.
delegitimizing others.
Yes.
That's a
So,
word.
I mean, this taps into the nuclear family
Oh,
and how we uphold the nuclear family. Capitalism really upholds the nuclear family, right? You need a mom, a dad, 2.5 kids, a dad that goes to work. Now, this is not happening per se now, right? Because both mom and dad have to work. But the way capitalism wanted it to be was that dad became a member of capitalism, going as the worker. The wife became the worker of the family,
mhm.
right? Like the
Yeah.
worker at home, the worker of her husband, and then the kids became workers too. And this then commodified the whole relationship. And so then this is a legitimate form of relationship. Mom and dad, heteronormative relationship. Anything outside of that, if I am a lesbian, if I'm queer, if anything gets bastardized, like you can't, that's under capitalism doesn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So challenging these norms is how we kind of try to break free.
It's all in pop culture right now. I don't even know the people's name involved, but they're the woman who talked about the bus
Ebony
driver,
K. Williams.
Ebony K. Williams.
Mm.
But there's this idea, just like you've said, of commodifying relationships, but also your value as a person is deeply connected to your labor,
Mm-hmm.
in essence, right? Like, or your worth, in essence.
Yeah.
And it feels like if we start to first realize, you talk about the spell of capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
waking up to that is kind of recognizing that pattern of like, how am I serving this other person in your relationships, or the transactional nature of your love relationships, that power
Mm-hmm.
dynamic that you play out with your kids, which is also extension of capitalism. You start being aware of this spell that you're under. But what is the replacement of that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the daily practice of like, oh, I am being transactional in my relationship right now with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
as well as how do you then measure your worth when you are doing acts of labor? You know what I mean? Like, I guess the question is, what is the alternative way of engaging with our fucking lives? Like, how do I mother? How do I
Mm.
do work? What are the other offerings and perspectives that I
Mm-hmm.
can be in practice of to help me realize I'm asleep to something, and then wake up to it?
Mm-hmm. I think that's like probably the number one question people ask. Like, great, the problem is, what's the solution? Like, I would like to know. And part of it is there isn't just one solution. There are like solutions, right? And I think first of all, if we're talking about relationships, that you have to be upfront and like have these conversations with your beloveds. Like, do you see what I see?
Mm-hmm.
Are we like, if it's an intimate partnership, do we see what's going on? Do we see how things are like these systems are eroding how we be with each other, with your homegirls? Like, do we see how maybe we don't get together because work is impacting us? And then it's in that way trying to find little places where you can be defiant against it.
Mm.
Right? It's not something where it's like, we're going to find the solution, we're going to enact it, and it's going to be gone. It's going to be these little pockets of defiance that we do individually, but that we also do with our people, that are going to slowly start to shift culture. And we see that now. That's why there's so much conversation around capitalism and things like that, because people see it, but they're also talking about it with others. And this is a fear of like TikTok and social media and why people want to get rid of it, because it serves as a social discourse where people are like, oh, I thought I was the only one. And that's part of capitalism, to keep you isolated, keep you isolated, keep you working, and keeping you so that you don't think that anyone exists the way that you do. Once you start talking about it with others, you start to feel a shared kind of grief. And you're like, oh, we can't just exist like this. We got to do something different. So if it's with your homegirls, it's like, we need to see each other more. What does that mean? How are we going to impact these systems? With your, if you have a relationship, it's, do you understand as my partner how these things impact us, impact you individually? If you were like in a cis hetero relationship, impact a man, impact me as a woman. And it's kind of being able to see each other first, right? You have to see each other's plight in the systems and acknowledge them before you can move against them. If you're with someone who's like, nah, everything's fine, you're fine in it, I'm fine in it, there's no systems, you can't challenge it. So I'd say first it's that awareness and that acknowledgement that something does exist. And then it's having the conversations about it.
Let me ask you, since we're talking about said system, I think another dilemma for a lot of folks is that, okay, I have to find these spaces where I can be defiant, right?
Yeah.
And I also have to check in with myself and make sure my value systems are in alignment with who I am, and with the knowledge that this system is an issue. It's eroding my quality of life.
Yeah.
With that system in place, though, can and how does one then thrive and enjoy abundance, right? You brought up Ebony K. Williams, and on Monday's episode, we deep dove into that, or deep dive, I'm not sure. And I think it's really interesting because I had some back and forth in the comments, and she responded to my comment on what she said. And it wasn't about who she dated, it was about the double down. Yeah. But it was more so like, I understand where some people are coming from while I disagree with it. It's a matter of like, well, I want to see us do well. I want to see us thrive. I want to see us in positions of power. And I guess the conflict in me is like, me too, but these positions of power are also seemingly harmful to other folks. Yeah. So if we're just trading off this harm, one person's got it going on, they're doing well, or one group of people, there's always someone at the bottom scraping and clawing their way through life. Yep. And that is, to me, not liberation, not freedom, not sustainable. So then I have a hard time with wanting nice things, wanting to thrive. There's this shame and guilt in me of like, dear God, not at the expense of others, but how is it not at the expense of others within this world? And I don't know how to rectify that.
Oh, I have so much to say. Okay, so I think
Toi, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your mic is rubbing against your shirt, and is
that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Much better.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry to make you do that, but
no, you're okay.
People wouldn't be able to hear.
Annoying tech.
That's okay. Well, I think there's a few things to unpack and talk about in what you said, Antoinette. Like, we have to get new definitions. So what does thriving mean if you're trying to challenge these systems? It can't look the same if you're trying to ride the wave of these systems. So how you're defining thriving is going to be different than someone else. And you have to be okay with having a different definition and living a different life, right? Abundance the same way. Abundance has been commodified by capitalism for you to think that it's just a life of luxury.
Mm. Mm.
So we have to, okay, so what does a life of abundance look like? Detached from capitalism and in support of liberation for
I
you,
don't know.
right? So this is something you have to think about.
What can you name some things for you? So, because we don't have no imagination, so let me know. Let me look up in your paper. What you
Stole
say?
it.
What
They
you
stole
say? What her paper say?
Let us cheat off you.
Okay, so for me, so like I started working for myself about 7 years ago. And one of the things that happened that drove me to start working for myself was that I had this job. And I used to work in HR, and it was during the holidays, and it was no one in the office. And I was supposed to be there, and I got in a car accident on my way to work. It was like Christmas time, roads were slick here in Denver. And I remember calling my boss and being like, I can't make it in. I got in a car accident. And she was like, well, if you're okay to call, can you come in? And I remember being like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And 2 months later, I got laid off from that job. And I had been laid off previously from another job that I had been at for a while. And as they were downsizing, I was doing like 4 people's jobs. And I went to them and I said, yo, this is what I'm doing. I had a report and everything. I went to the HR department, presented my things, and they're like, we can't give you more money because we ain't got it, but still do this work. And I slowly was like, nah, I can't. And just ended up like not doing a lot of work. And then I got laid off while I was on FMLA because my son was hurt.
Wow.
And I always knew kind of in the back of my head that jobs don't give a fuck about us. But those 2 experiences really showed it. So once I got laid off at the last job, I was like, I can't go back. I'm not going back. So I decided to start working for myself. So I took that unemployment. And Black folks, we do this all the time. We flip shit all the time. We do stuff and we're like, this is going to float me over. And this is us being defiant to the systems that say we should participate, right? So I took unemployment and was like, I'm going to try to work for myself. Had a homegirl who's working for herself and started doing some things with her. So I started doing my own stuff. What that allowed me to do was to be out of these systems and in corporate world to be dictated by a boss. So that gave me freedom to just kind of move how I wanted to move. In my everyday life now, what that affords me is more time with my sons as a single mom, to be with them and to mother how I want to mother without having to go to a 9 to 5, right? I'm trying to think of other ways that it shows up in my life where I'm being defiant in terms of my relationships, right? I have decided that I really want to be in relationships with men who are aware of these systems. For me, it's really important that I'm able to talk to someone. Now, you don't have to be do as much of a deep dive as I do in these systems. It's not your work, but do you believe in patriarchy? Do you believe it's a thing? Do you see capitalism? Do we have any idea of what that is? Like being able to be with someone who's on the same page, that's really, really important for me. And then in terms of like raising my sons, for me, being able to talk to them about these systems and the work that I do is important for them to understand that too. Trying to think. I'll think of some more. Yeah.
That's it.
I think, and just I'm not pushing back.
Yeah.
For people who are listening, right?
Yeah.
I remember I actually was speaking to a friend today, and we were talking about capitalism, and he was like, yeah, everybody's gonna tell you quit your job, start your own shit. Dame Dash told us no one should work for anyone, but who the fuck's working at all the companies that everybody's creating, right?
Yeah.
So is it a matter of finding your, if you don't want to own your own space, you're not in a position to own your own business, is it aligning with finding like-minded folks, finding your tribe? Is that
Yeah. I mean, I'm not ever going to tell anyone everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. First of all, that's bullshit. Like that is something that is like for me, capitalism speak. Like
mm-hmm.
not everyone can be an entrepreneur, nor does everyone want to be an entrepreneur. It does take a level of commitment and all of these things. Everyone should be able to live well, no matter what they're doing. So my thought, my what I would say to that is like, yes, everyone has to work. But I think it's important for more of us instead of less to understand what the dynamics are when you are trading your labor, when you are at work. Do we really understand what's happening? Right? Like that do we understand that we are forced to get a job, that it's not a choice. Like people will say, well, you can do, you can get whatever job you want. You don't have to work. It's a choice. Like you can be poor if you want. It's actually not a choice. If the choice is being poor and unhoused or working and being able to maybe pay for a home, we're going to work. And that's part of capitalism's dupe in the spell, is that it makes you think that you have choice when you really don't.
And also being poor and unhoused is criminal at this point.
It's criminal.
You actually can't be unhoused at this
Right.
point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say like 100%, if you are working, work. Like you have to work. You have to tend to yourself. You're not wrong for working. I would just say like understand the condition of what it means for you to have to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And I think another thing, we were talking not too long ago about in France how they're wilding out. I actually don't know what's going on up to this date, but freaking out about the retirement age being increased because just their standard of life, their culture is that work isn't everything. And they just have a more socially structured government where healthcare and your basic necessities are often can be taken care of by the government.
Mm-hmm.
And America, we just don't even have this sense that like, damn, healthcare could really be given to everybody. Education could be really free for everybody.
Yes.
In Germany, you don't pay to go to school. It's
Mm-hmm.
just free. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to just like for all types of what are they called? Occupations.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we don't even have the understanding of what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even you can have. I think the idea that work, and I struggle this as well when thinking about capitalism, that all work is exploitive. Right? That, all right, if I'm going to be a business owner, then I intrinsically have to exploit somebody else. And like, there's no possibility of work being done, fair exchange, and a good quality of life. Like, that's a possibility that can happen. But we're often always on these extremes and these pendulums of like, and I'm speaking for myself, like burn it all down. We should go to the woods. Or it's just going to be this exploitive system. And it's just not true. But I don't even think we understand what we can fight for and what we can create and still, keep the economy that we have in a lot of ways. I don't know if we would want to, but yeah, it just feels like the only other option is burning it all down versus creating something that's far more sustainable and like real for us, which is it just robs us of alternatives in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there is that, I think there's grief is tied into that, like, let's burn it all down, because I think for a lot of us, we feel like, shit, we've been doing this for how long? Like, when do I get to just find the joy, consistent joy, find the peace, the consistent peace, find the rest, the consistent rest. Like where is it? Let's just burn it down. And I think we have to get comfortable with being able to have those feelings, that swing, because I do believe for me, because I see it in the work that I'm in, that folks are really challenging how we are. And so I believe that, especially for my sons and maybe generations after them, if climate change doesn't really fuck us up, that things are getting better because so many people are like, this is not it. And we saw it a lot in COVID where people were home, and that's why they could protest. That's why they could see. That's why they could feel more, because they had the time, they had the space, and they were able to be like, whoa, like what's going on? Capitalism keeps us forever in this deep spiral where we can't disconnect from it, right? So when you had groups of people home getting money, working from home, able to go protest and challenge things, the government saw that. And the government was like, oh no, we can't have people home like that. Because what happens is people have free time, people talk, people collectivize, and capitalism wants to keep us individualized. So that's why I think it's important to talk to your people about this stuff. They don't have to always agree. We don't have to always agree about it, but can we have a conversation around what's going on? Because we can't all be having this feeling for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This leads us, when you talked about how individualized we are, Mother's Day is coming up. And that can feel like such an isolating experience. So to speak of being a single mom and having to do it yourself. And a lot of your work is around motherhood and is around uplifting and bringing awareness to the experience of being a single Black mother and looking out for each other. Can you tell us how many children you have and just your experience, how old you were when you had your children?
I am a mother of 4 boys. I have 4 sons. My oldest actually just turned 18 last month. He's graduating this month. I have twins. They are 14 years old, and then my youngest is 11. All of my kids have different dads, so 3 baby dads, and it's important for me to name that because that's part of my politics and what my lens of political analysis is coming through. So I just turned 40, so I had my oldest son in my early 20s, so I spent all of my 20s with babies. So here we are.
Wow.
You talk about Black single mothers are shamed, blamed, interrogated, scrutinized, and discarded on all levels. I'm a single mother. I separated from my child's father when she was 2. On your site, you differentiate single motherhood, right? There's single mothers, but you have a co-parent, and then you have single mothers. What was the acronym that you used? MAD? What was it?
Oh yeah, so there's MAD parenting, and I wrote about that for a long time ago. Now I would say like parallel parenting with my oldest son. His dad and we parallel parent, meaning that we don't agree on a lot of the things, but he is heavily and deeply involved. So we are both parallel to each other, parenting together, our son, but it's no like we're not really talking and making decisions in that way. And then with my youngest 3, their fathers are completely out of the picture. They try to dip in occasionally, depending on a lot of factors. Occasionally they're in, but most of the time I've been with them solo parenting my youngest 3.
I have a friend who has 4 children as well, and they're all under the age of 11. And I really got insight
Mm,
into how isolated and how um, alone she is, and how the
mhm,
stakes are so much higher for her, and how the disregard and the judgment of her is like nothing I have ever
mm,
experienced and probably will ever experience, being
yeah,
as though, you know, I just have one child. And so there's this judgment that comes with having multiple children as a
yeah,
single woman, and the more help that you need and the less people fuck with you, because it's like you put yourself in this
Mm.
situation.
mhm,
And I find myself, and I found myself, you know, I help her and I'm like, oh yeah, Shanti, you helped her out, good work by you. And then she asks for help again. And I can
mm,
feel myself tightening with judgment. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? She doesn't
mm,
have anybody, but
mm,
I can feel it inside of me. And it's just been really interesting to see myself as somebody that I feel like, oh yeah, you know, I'm down to help a community. But
mhm,
the person that really, really needs it, in the back of my mind is this voice of like, why'd you get you? It's your fault. Like you made your bed, now you have to lay in it. And
mhm.
I wonder how you can connect that to what we were just talking about with capitalism, to with this how deeply responsibility and
Mhm.
worth are connected with
Yeah.
motherhood and single motherhood, especially.
I mean, I feel that because I've felt that for a long, long time. Like, especially in my 20s when my kids were a lot younger. Mine are older, so I have a lot more freedom now. But when they were younger, I deeply felt that and was isolated because, I felt judged by my family. I felt shamed by so many people that I should have made better decisions. And a lot of that lays at the foot of patriarchy because, and capitalism, but patriarchy because women are supposed to know better for everyone. Like you should have made better decisions. It's always challenging what the woman should have done and not what the man should do, right? So like you're a single mom because you made bad choices. You have multiple kids because you made bad choices. Even though you're the mom that's around, you're the person that's staying and nurturing, you're the person that's holding it all, and the dad isn't around, whether they're like in and out, they have a toe dipped in or a whole foot dipped in, it's still you. And the shame, blame, and guilt isn't to the other party that's not there. It's not to the father. It's to the mother who stayed. And that's woven into patriarchy, but it's also woven into capitalism that sees women as property, that
Mm.
you should have made better choices and you're not a kept woman now. So you're used. You have a scarlet A. We don't have any need for you. We don't see you. You didn't make the right choices, and how we then discard people.
Discard. Yeah.
Um, I've just recently we've seen things in the headlines like Deion Sanders saying that he only wants, I forget what position, I think it's linebacker or whatever, only wants those positions coming from single mother households because they're hungry and they need and they want and they don't have and they weren't really taken care of.
Yep.
Um, or we see Marcus Houston saying he don't fuck with single moms. Now he's problematic, but he don't fuck with single moms because of basically they're scarred and all these
Baggage.
things, their baggage. Um, and that exists deeply in the Black community because of white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy and all the things. And we judge women who become mothers, whether it's they, like for me, I was in relationships and lived with the men that I have kids with. We were deeply in relationships. It wasn't until after I had the kids and really color started to show, and I was like, oh, I can't stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stay here. And my future self knew that if I stayed, I wouldn't be here right now to have this conversation with y'all. There was no way. So I made the choice to still exist in the stigmatization of Black single motherhood, to not stay there. But that doesn't matter because all people see is the fact that I'm a single mom with 4 kids by 3 different dads. And clearly, what that means is I don't make good choices or decisions. So then that means that my kids don't make good choices or decisions. And what I really started to think about is the reason we challenge single motherhood so much is because if we look at the nuclear family, there's a head, right? It's usually the father. In single mother households, the reason people have an issue with it because they're like, where's the head? Who's the level-headed one? Who's making the decisions? How are they grounded? How are they secure? And we have to challenge a lot of that. But I relate to the isolation and the shame and the guilt. And I think part of what we have to do in our community is to really look at how we've been taught to hold and value and think about single mothers.
I also want to touch on, I'm not a mother, but I do also see that um, on the flip side of that,
Yeah.
when we talk about especially Black single mothers, you'll have an image or you'll hear a story about a Black single mother and she's holding it down and she worked 15, 16 jobs
Yeah.
and somehow made it happen. And then, maybe the kid is somehow super successful and they do this op-ed on the mom. And then they're like, wow, that's a strong Black
Mm-hmm.
woman. It's like, the fuck? Wait, yeah, I am, but I didn't want to have to do that.
Ooh.
And so we don't talk about like, why was she in that position?
Mm,
Like where was her help, as Shanti discussed? I think there's a big part of the conversation missing from that. Like why was it so inequitable for her?
yeah.
Why was that her reality? And
Yeah.
I think that there's all the praise in the world if the kid goes on to the NFL, if
Yeah.
the kid, you know, turns into this great actor, right? Or whatever these, societal standards of success are.
Mm-hmm.
And then mom she's no longer Scarlet, you know, what is it?
No. The Scarlet
Scarlet
A.
letter,
She's a
yeah,
model
Scarlet.
single mom. Like
Yeah.
she's like a model minority. She's like the model single mom who pulled herself up by the
Uh-huh.
bootstraps.
Which is drenched in white supremacy.
Yes, and did her thing and took care of it and didn't need no man or
And
need
killed
no
herself
support.
in the process. Not just did her thing,
Yep.
but probably discarded most of her pleasure in her life and her happiness in order to survive and ensure that her children survive. And that is what we should strive to be.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
it's
what,
sick.
yeah, it's horrible and that's part of where we need to go upstream and be like, why do we think like that? And why do we think that is okay? And why do we accept that version of single motherhood where the mother isn't even allowed to be honest about her experience?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
That she can't even say that shit was painful. It tore me up. I am I'm I'm someone so completely different. I don't even know myself. Why is that okay? Because in these systems, she played the game and she won.
Mm.
She didn't need any help. And it goes back into the strong Black woman, right? She can do it all. She don't need nobody. And if you need somebody, something's wrong with you. Um, One of my favorite books by Michelle Wallace is Black Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman. And she talks about how Black women have been upheld to be like the superwoman. And she shares this story around, she was watching, I think I shared it on Instagram. She was watching this show with one of her colleagues, a friend, Black man, successful. And this book was written in the 70s, I think. And they were watching some show and it was a news and it was about this woman who was not doing well. Her power was off and the landlord wasn't doing something. And she had all these kids around, like 6 of them, and no one looked well. No one had clean clothes or things like that. And he said, well, that's a strong sister right there. And she was like taken aback, like, we think that's strength for women to not have, to not be tended to, for Black women to not be tended to not be cared for. And especially when you put single mother on that too. Like, oh, you made your bed and you laid in it. No one deserves you anything. And I think part of the healing for Black single mothers comes in the reclamation of like A, sharing your story, but B, believing yourself that you deserve to be tended to and cared for by yourself, and sharing that with your kids too. Otherwise, we just keep perpetuating this cycle.
Shanti, do you have anything else on this topic?
No.
So then another thing that I thought was very interesting, because
Yeah.
I'm in corporate America, Lord.
Mm,
And it's interesting how I keep saying I would like to see the
mm,
average salary for people in my position.
yeah.
I want to know what everybody else is getting paid. I've yet to see these numbers, but I keep requesting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep requesting them.
Do it.
I'm
Yep.
just real curious. I keep seeing these graphs. You know, HR does a really good, and I have to give it to my company. They
Yeah.
are much more progressive, seemingly,
Mm,
than other spaces that I've been in.
yeah.
So I'll give them that. It's a Black woman head of HR doing her thing. All
Mm,
right.
mm-hmm.
And I saw you talk about how we gatekeep our salaries, how we do not, and our earnings, we do not tell people how much we make. The middle
Mm-hmm.
class, especially, because there's shame around it. There's like, oh no, you gonna want what I got.
Yep.
You know, like, hold up, wait a minute.
Yep.
I got what I got, you got what you got, and I don't want you coming over here in my
Yep.
piggy bank. But, and this is so interesting that this is from Conversations with God, book 2. But you
Mm-hmm.
quoted, the plain fact is that people would never put up with 90% of what is going on in the world if they knew what was going on. Society would never sanction the extraordinary disproportionate distribution of wealth, much less the means by which it is gained or the manner in which it is used to gain more, were these facts known specifically and immediately by all people everywhere. Basically saying, listen, if you fucking knew how much everybody around you was getting paid, you wouldn't put up with your salary
No.
and their work.
Oh no.
My favorite thing now to say, and I know I'm getting on people's nerves. I'm nervous. This morning, my phone was ping, 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 and someone asked me to send them something at 8:15 in the a.m. And I said, hi, it is 8:15 in the morning. Please, I understand that this meeting has been moved up to 9:30, but my understanding was that we will do a recap after said meeting. I'm hoping that this does not then mean that we have to start our day earlier and CC my boss.
Mm-hmm.
I will not. I don't get paid when you get paid.
Nope.
My new favorite thing, you keep asking me to show people who get paid more money than me how to do
Yep.
things. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not doing it. And they got me in this loop before where I was like, oh, it'll make my job so much easier if I just train these people who get paid so much more money than me, these VPs. If
Mm-hmm.
I show them the processes, because technically it's my job, I'm a project manager.
Mm.
I gotta be about the team. No, you gotta be about me. And I
Yep.
understand that this company is in this position where they've just laid off 15% of of the company due
Yep.
to a loss of a major client.
Mm.
Fine. You have another 15, 20K somewhere
Yeah.
to throw at me. If you could spend all this money on these goddamn pizzas every day for people to come into this office that no one's coming into, literally,
Mm.
you have prime real estate in New York of the cities, in Manhattan, that is empty. Computers, empty.
Yep.
Desktops, all kinds of fancy shit everywhere. It's that's not even being utilized. You have money somewhere. So until you throw it to me, I'm going to do exactly what's on my job description. And I've asked for a job description. Where the fuck is that?
Yep.
I don't even have that yet. You can't even
You
tell
don't
me
have
what
a job
You don't have a
description?
job
Baby,
description?
Baby, they can't find a job description. I
They
said, now
can't
y'all know,
find it in the
I
Google
said,
Doc somewhere?
they're not giving me a job description because they know that the
Yep.
what I'm managing is well over what's
Yep.
in my job description. All of a sudden, you
Wow.
can't find it. But I'm first on the list to get a promotion. I don't want the promotion until I know what these other people, what is the median, what's the salary base the other
Mm-hmm.
people are getting. Don't throw me any more money until I know that. Because it has to be comparable, if not more. Because you've
Hmm.
already told me that I'm outperforming everyone in
Mm-hmm.
said role. So you fucked up. This is where I'm at, where I don't know if it's I don't mean to go on the soapbox, but what's the for they do the event in New York. It's like the cultural, it's like the art folks, they have like a festival. Damn. It's like culture
Con,
fest.
culture con,
Culture
no,
Con?
Is
culture
it
con.
Culture Con?
Is
Is
that
that what
one?
it is? I don't remember the name, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that the listeners are saying it right now, laughing at us. But I love what they do. They have people write in anonymously and they say exactly what their position is. They say how many years they've been working in it and
Mm,
where they're working and how much they get paid. And they post it all the time. They'll have a weekly thing where they're like, art director, this state,
mm-hmm.
this many years of experience. This is what I'm getting paid here. White, female. And they'll tell you so that you know, you have an idea of what to ask. Because we gatekeep this information so much, we don't even know what to ask. And
Yep.
these white men and white women have the audacity to ask. They have the audacity, I don't even get me started, to interview for jobs they're wildly unqualified for,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll figure it out. And we feel like we got to come in knowing and having years of experience in said job to
Mm-hmm.
even ask for the lowest rate, girl. This
Hmm.
was it. I saw this. I said, this would solve so many fucking problems
Yeah.
if we would not gatekeep this information, if we would look out for one another. I've got a homegirl. I have no idea what she makes, but I'm going to
Mm,
fucking ask her and I'm going to tell her what I make to be like, yo, we need to stick together. Look what Friends did. They
mm-hmm.
said this will be getting
Yep.
all paid, and we're going to these people, and if they don't pay us all of this money, then we're walking.
Yep.
There's
They,
power in that.
they organized. They were like, we're
Hmm.
a union.
That's
You
it.
fire one, you fire us all. You don't take heed of one of us, it's all of us. And what I'll
Hmm.
keep saying is transparency is the enemy of exploitation.
Mm.
If all of us know how much we're making at a company, we can't all be exploited because I'm like, oh, we do the same job and you pay more. Like, no, that's not gonna fly. So in all realms, like as a worker in a corporation, I talk about this, for white folks, like, if you are someone who is part of the quote unquote movement and you're an ally or a comrade to black folks, then we need to know how much money you actually make, right?
And
You need to be able to say how much money you got.
this is the responsibility of white wealth that you're getting into, right?
Right. So I mean, I think for everyone, like what you're talking about, Antoine, I think it's really important for you to know how much money is out on the table. I'll share like a real quick story. I worked in HR a long time, and one of my first HR jobs, I was like an assistant, and I was doing some like file cleanup, and was putting paperwork away, and I saw that the person that did the exact same job as me got paid more.
Ugh.
And I was like, oh, this is it. I went to my manager. I didn't say I knew. I said I had found a different position and that I needed to leave. And because I was so good at my job, she was like, oh, we want to keep you. And I said, well, this is how much the other job is going to pay me. But I knew how much my colleague was making. And I said, so this is what I need to be paid. And they did it. So it's like that knowledge emboldens us,
Yep. Yep.
And
right?
the fact
You
that all
leverage
this
other
shit is
offers all the
made up
time.
anyway, it's all absurd,
All
arbitrary.
absurd.
Like it makes no sense half
None.
the time anyway.
But it's purposeful. It's purposeful. But I will say, in my work, I do run a program called The Responsibility of White Wealth. And I take up to 8 women. Right now, it's a year-long journey where we go through how whiteness is connected to wealth. And one of their first things that they have to do in a cohort is tell how much money they got. What is your net wealth? So you have these groups of women who don't know each other, who, in all honesty and whiteness, you really don't talk about money. If you've
Mm-mm.
got money, you really don't talk about how much money you got. And they come in and they have to say how much money they have. And, it's really interesting, the fear that comes up, the grief, all of the things. But what it does is it puts us all on, like, it makes it so we all know what the playing field is, so that you can't lie through this whole year together, this whole 6 months. We all know what you got. And so when it comes to the end, when you say you want to support, we know how much money is there to do that.
Mm. Can I ask you how would one, what advice would you give one to disarm someone, to try to start
Mm.
these conversations, to say, hey, we would be better off. What did you say? Because I just wrote it the hell down. Hold on now. You said, yeah, transparency is the enemy of exploitation. I think
Hmm.
that's the name of this episode. How do you convince someone of that?
Well, who is this someone? Is it friends? Is it like
All of
colleagues?
the, so let's say a friend, somebody
Yeah,
who's like, I actually fuck with this person outside of work.
yeah.
You're my people. To someone who you're like, literally, I just work with you.
Hmm.
That's it. To someone who, I don't know, you just met at a networking event, at a
Hmm.
friend's house who does the same thing as you. How do you start these conversations
Well,
to change the,
I
sorry.
would say with friends, um, it's important for us to know the lay of the land in our friendships, right? So that we can check each other to know if they're like, sometimes you don't know if you're not making enough money for what you're doing, because you just think that like that's what people get paid. But when
Mm-hmm.
you start talking to friends, and I think it's the first place to start, where you have like a relational imprint, right? You already have friends, you're trusted and things like that. Like my best friend, I know how much she makes. I know she is grossly underpaid. I know that she needs to leave, and we've had these conversations, and I'm the one who's like, okay, we're going to go to the manager and we're going to talk, like, this is what you're going to say. These are things you need to say. This is what your position is averaging, paying for out in the market. Like, I'm emboldening. And that's what collectivizing, a form of it, is. For those who like are colleagues, I think you have to get a temperature of your kind of office or your job to understand if that would be off-putting to
Mm-hmm.
someone. But I would say, like, to start those conversations would just to look at, like, hey, how long has someone been there? Do you have any kind of foothold with them? And maybe just like go out for coffee or something and be like, I'm trying to get a raise or something like that. What do you have any idea of, like, what this position would pay for out in the market? Just start some sort of dialogue and see if they're even comfortable talking about it, because people are so bound up in talking about money. But I think it really starts with friends, with like homies first, understanding how much each other makes. And we see this a lot being challenged in the influencer space, where you see
Yeah.
someone being mad, like, I'm going on a trip and I found out this person is making more than I made and all of that. So if in that sphere, like, people had to be transparent, right? And companies had to share how much they paid one versus the other, that would erode some of this competition.
You're
Um,
you're
yeah.
touching on, and I want to shout them out. Shout out to Hey Fran Hey, Cheska Lee, Urban Bush Babes, that
Mm,
whole cohort. As soon as they got an offer, Fran talks about this. As soon as they got an offer back in the day when they were really doing their like influencing natural hair shit, they would hit each other up and say, "This company offered me this. If
mm-hmm,
they come to you, make sure that you getting offered X, Y, and Z." It's so important. The way that Shanti and I undersell ourselves is
mm-hmm,
gross. Also, it's an interesting conversation to have because even Shanti, I'm putting you on blast. She wouldn't even tell me what her rent was. We on with the CPA, and she was like tight. She was tight, baby. I could feel her wanting to be like, damn, why is she on this phone?
mm,
I don't want to say it. And I think it's so deeply rooted in what is this person going to think about me? What is the
Yeah.
judgment that they're going to make? Or whatever. I don't want to speak for you, but I know that I feel that way. I like if people are asking me, "Oh, what do you make?" I had a friend of mine today. He don't really know me that well. He was like, "What do you do for work?" And I hated it because he's wealthy. He has a whole bunch of money and he's done quote unquote
Yeah.
well for himself. And I'm like, "Yo, shut up. Why? I'm not my work." Like I kind of hit him with that.
Hmm.
It's just, yeah, there's so much shame
Yeah.
around money.
Well, because I think when you were talking about ways that you can be defiant,
Yeah.
money intersects with scarcity. Money
Hmm.
intersects with competition, just like you said.
Yeah.
Money intersects with poverty.
Hmm.
Like the fact that I'm don't not making any money is embarrassing.
It's your
Um,
worth.
what is that?
It's your worth. It's how people will value you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we haven't cracked that open yet. But
Right.
I love the idea of breaking this individualism, like and doing more of a collective thing. I think that is definitely a beautiful way to defy and
Hmm.
yeah, gain some power,
I think it's
Joe.
also like it's freeing to be able to have people that you're close to know the real you. Like know all like if
Mm,
at least if there's one person,
mm,
it ain't gotta be all your homegirls, it ain't gonna be all, all the circles, but someone that knows that you can go to, like when shit is really hitting the fan, that you don't have
mm,
to do a backstory to or
mm,
anything like that. Like that pulls
mm,
us, that's defiant. That level of transparency and truthfulness like frees us from that isolation and feeling like no one cares. And like, what are we protecting? What are we hoping to resolve and not sharing that stuff? And so for me, it feels like I want to the people that I really care about and that I really fuck with to be open in that way because I want them closer and I want them to share the same. Like everything here is so fragile. So if I can understand what's in your world and you can understand what's in mine, when things start to crack, I can really come to you and I don't have to really hold up this barrier. So I just say like you're asking like what are the ways to like impede some of these structures? It's in these ways, the relationships, being
radical
relational.
honesty.
Yeah, some
Boo.
radical.
Boo. Not us showing our not vulnerability. Yuck.
Yuck. Now would everyone know, like, listen, I'm a Capricorn. I ain't vulnerable with.
Oh
Oh
no,
shit.
you
And you're
saved
about your
that for the
money too.
end.
Oh shit.
We ain't playing with nobody about her ends.
Nope, nope,
Feelings.
not over here.
Catch
So,
me slipping.
yep.
Listen, I don't know, Shanti, if you have anything else. We've kept you for over an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you already had a long day, so I want to be really respectful of
Yeah,
your time. But Toy, Shanti, do you have anything else?
No, I'm thankful.
I'm
That's
so
such a
mm-hmm.
thankful.
beautiful ending.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
necessary.
Toy, please tell people how they can follow you, keep up with you,
yeah,
support you, all the things.
yeah. So you can follow me over on the IG streets at Toi Marie. And I am the founder of an organization called Loving Black Single Mothers. You can find us at www.lovingblacksinglemothers.com, where we are building ecosystems of care for Black single mothers, and the same handle at Loving Black Single Mothers on IG. And those are the two main spots.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
Love
you
it.
so,
Thank you so
so
Thank
much.
very much.
you.
Do you have time to do one last thing?
Yeah.
We usually do rapid fire questions with our guests.
Yes.
Yes.
Shanti didn't put it on here. She probably thought you was too
I'd be forgetting about that.
you was too fancy for these
Well, let's
raggedy
do
questions.
it.
All right. Shanti, please skip the rules.
We're gonna give you two options. You can only
Okay.
choose one with no explanation, no questions. You
Okay.
have 3 seconds to answer. You have to answer them all.
Okay.
There's no
That's
options in
it.
this.
No
No
options here.
alternatives, no possibilities.
Hella capitalism. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Malcolm or Martin?
Malcolm.
Generational wealth or familial happiness?
Ooh, familial happiness.
Jay or Nas?
Ooh, Nas.
Mac or Sephora?
Sephora.
Palestine or Israel?
Palestine.
In the light or in the dark?
Ooh, in the dark.
Prince or Michael?
Prince.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Marriage or long-term commitment?
Long-term commitment.
Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Whole Foods.
Voodoo or brown sugar?
Ooh, God. Voodoo.
Uh, Nikki or Cardi?
Cardi.
A seat at the table or lemonade?
Ooh, a seat at the table.
Jollof or rice and peas?
Jollof.
Missionary or doggy style?
Missionary.
Protection or pull out in prayer?
Ooh, pull out in prayer.
Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic?
Ooh, Uchi Wally Wally.
Love Jones or Jason's lyric?
Love Jones.
Sir or Rumi?
Sir.
Lisa Bonet or Nia Long?
Lisa Bonet.
Bell Hooks or Audre Lorde?
Bell Hooks.
Nuck If You Buck or Annie Up?
Ooh, Nuck If You Buck.
9/11, inside job or terrorist attack?
Inside Job.
Rihanna or Beyonce?
Rihanna.
Erica or Jill?
Erica.
Brandy or Monica?
Monica.
Read the book or watch the movie?
Read the book.
Sundress or sweatpants?
Sundress.
SWV or Escape?
SWV.
Toni Morrison or Alice Walker?
Toni Morrison.
Flats or drums?
Drums.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Travel back in time or travel forward in time?
Travel forward always.
Buy stocks or buy flights?
Buy flights.
Prove your point or pray for peace?
Pray for peace.
Insecure, Molly or Issa?
Issa.
And finally, Love and Light or Money and Dicks?
Oh,
Come on, Capricorn.
Money and dicks. I mean, balance.
Toi, thank you so
Yes.
much. It was such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. I hope to stay
welcome.
connected with you.
Yes.
Yeah, I would
Really.
love to talk about your business strategy stuff too.
Okay,
So I might bring
let's
you
get
back
into
on.
it.
But
Yeah.
thank you. Feel free to reach out, especially
Okay.
if you want to bring, amplify some of the initiatives that you have. I know you do
Hell
like
yeah.
the regular fundraising or
Yeah.
whatever. Happy to support.
All right.
Definitely.
Thank y'all both so much. So much.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great evening.
Wait,
too.
Atoy, before you go, Antoinette,
Yeah.
tell her the rules.
Oh, before you go, please, if you can definitely hit the leave button, but if you can leave the actual window open so
Okay.
that the upload finishes uploading, you'll see
Okay.
like it'll say upload complete and then we're good.
Okay.
Just the
All right,
browser.
y'all. Thank
right.
you so much. All right,
All
All
y'all.
right,
right.
rest
Thank
up.
you.
Bye.
Bye. I love her.
Isn't she sweet?
I'm so
I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
nervous. You're tired?
I'm
Bitch,
exhausted.
we got another 50 hours to record. Capitalism.
Capitalism. Shit. Ah!
All right. Well, let's get into it. We also have an ad to record, so let's do that.
Girl. All right, let's go.
All right.
Are you just going to shorten? Because that was an hour. You're not going to play all the voicemails, right?
Ain't no voicemails. They was corny. I shouldn't say that.
Oh,
We just need to do the intro. We needed to do the pleasantries, and then we'll get right into it.
oh.
The voicemails, they're not corny. They're redundant. It's like, my mom bullied me too. Gentle parenting. Why I can't talk about gentle parenting all goddamn year now. I think you need to start a gentle parenting podcast.
JoJo, shut the hell up. I ain't no gentle parent.
JoJo gonna listen back like, wait till she gets the fact that she's going to have like a full-on archive of your bullshit that she's gonna have access to is hilarious.
We were talking about money and I was dying of thirst and I texted her, I said, Joe, can you bring me money? And I meant to say water. And she brought me a $2 bill and a glass of water.
She has a lucky $2 bill.
She stole it from me. It's mine. Stole it and brought it back to me. All right.
You saw she was standing up. We should really stand up when we record.
She was standing up.
Yeah.
I was
I'm gonna
wondering what she
stand
was
up.
fidgeting around for. I said, girl, sit down. Stop moving that
I'm gonna
damn
stand
mic.
up. I'm gonna stand up after the ad. You know I can't function when we do these goddamn ads. All right.
You have to talk to me about, I saw those emails and I was like, some shit is
We are in a
hitting the
fight.
fan, but I don't know what's going on.
I am in a fight.
Are this recording still or?
Yeah. Apologies.